Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of New Mexico. New property going live on the website this weekend, guys. This one in a subdivision that is very popular amongst our buyers, the one that we have at this point listed, I'm going to guess, we're roughly about 24 properties in the past. This is an area where, as you can kind of guess by the headline, not a lot of restrictions, number one. Number two, centrally located amongst a lot of great outdoor attractions in western New Mexico, most notably the Cibola National Forest. So, of course, these also tend to be very popular with hunters. With that said, guys, let's get to the details. This one is reference number CBNM-0003. Located in Sabola County in the northwest part of the state. This one's in the Pine Meadows Ranch subdivision, and it is a scooch more than 5 acres. And as you observed up top here, this 5 acres is priced at $5,000 or $1,000 per acre. Let's do as we always do, pull this one up on a map. Scroll down here, guys. As with all of our listings, we've got GPS coordinates, 4 corner points, and a center. Click any one of them, and Google Maps shall materialize with a little pin in it for your convenience to help locate the property. First, guys, let's go to map view. Let's pull back, talk about where this is in the state. For those of you not familiar with Cibola County, not familiar with this subdivision, haven't watched one of these videos before, basically, guys, you got Albuquerque up here in the north central part of the state. Everybody knows Albuquerque. The pin, which has now disappeared from the map, is located over here, which is roughly, if we right-click and measure distance, about an hour and a half outside of Albuquerque, or at least 90-some miles as the crow flies. Of course, most of that drive is easy highway drive, doing about 75, 80 miles an hour here along I-40, until you get out to the 53, and you make your way down here to the subject properties. So let's budget roughly about an hour and a half. Because when you get on the 53, the mountains kind of start to cause the road to snake a little bit. You go a little slower pace, but we'll say about an hour and a half back and forth, okay? Anyway, with that said, guys, Cibola County out here in the western part of the state, Arizona borders it to the west. And this is a county that we like to joke has more cows than people. This is a very rural setting, number one. But because of that rural setting, what you lack in people, you tend to make up with for a lot of great sort of outdoor activities, a lot of great outdoor locations. As noted, the subject property is right here, but very close by to that, the Moro National Monument up here, number one. Chain of Craters Wilderness Study Area, number two. Number three, you've got the Malpais National Monument and the Conservation Area right here. And the Bandera... where's it at? Here we go. The Bandera Crater, the ice caves, and Bandera Volcano, also right here, located just here along the 53. So you have all of that, and then in addition, you've also got some bodies of water here in Cibola County, such as the Ramah Reservoir. This is roughly 15 minutes from the subject property. And then, of course, up here in the northern part of the county, you've got the Blue Water Lake State Park, which is very popular, and because it's so much larger, offers you even more ability to take advantage of water sports, fishing, jet skiing, so on and so forth. And of course, not to bury the headline, guys, but we've got this giant splotch of green here on the map, roughly 300,000 acres of Cibola National Forest, full of great picnic areas, hiking areas, trails, and of course, plenty of critters for you to hunt, such as elk, mule deer, and wild turkey, to name, I'm sure, just a few. So, subject property, guys, sits just down here south of the 53. It should be noted that the nearest town, you've got Ramah over here, which is a good place to run for some groceries and supplies, but the nearest major town hereby is Grants, roughly about 40 minutes from the subject property. If we right-click and measure distance again, you will see that Grants is roughly about 30 miles as the crow flies, but of course with the drive, that's more like 40-some. Whatever the case, Grants is the population center of the county. It is also the county seat. In Grants, you've got about 10,000 plus population. Over here in nearby neighboring Milan, you've got like another 2,000 some. So a big enough town that it supports things like a super Walmart right here. Of course, excellent place to run for groceries and supplies, particularly if you end up building on the property. In addition, you've got things like the Grants Milan Municipal Airport over here. You've got the Cibola General Hospital in this region right here. Hey, there it is. As well as just a lot of great places to eat, bars, restaurants, things like that in this area. It should also be noted, guys, if we go back to map view, that you will see that Gallup is not too far from the subject property either. If we right-click and measure distance on this one, you can see that nearby Gallup is roughly about 40 miles as the crow flies. So let's budget an hour to get up there, something like that. Gallup, I believe, has about twice the population of Grants. So out here, you're going to have pretty much everything that you have in Grants, plus some other features, like I believe they've got a Home Depot, whereas Grants does not. So you are within very close proximity of both of those, relatively speaking anyway. Anyway, guys, if we zoom in on the map right here, you're going to see the Pine Meadows Ranch. There's this area that is outlined right here on the map. This is roughly a 4,500 acre subdivision that was platted and subdivided back in the late 70s. Pretty much all the lots in this area were first subdivided into 5 acre lots, and then some later divided in half into 2.5 acre lots. So point is, most of the sub are all very generously portioned pieces of land. Particularly this one that we have that we're offering you guys today, located here off of Twilight Way, really very close to the entrance, off of road I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce, Carrizozo Road, right here at the entrance. Now you'll notice, guys, here on map view we don't have a plat overlay. Cibola County does not interface with Google Maps, so we're going to go down here. We're going to show you in our gallery. We have first a representation, Google Earth representation of the general footprint of the property, size, shape, location. And we also have the plat map. Some plat maps are very informative and very helpful. This is not one of those plat maps, guys, but this is one that we could get from the county, which at the very least reaffirms that this property is along Twilight Way and is shaped like a rectangle. There you go. Anyway, point being, the property is located here off of Twilight Way. Let's talk about this first. So first, we've got the ridge line here along the southern half of the property. This is kind of a sloped area, more of a hillside over here. If you hold down the control key on your keyboard and wiggle your mouse, you too can play along at home as I give you a sense of the general, I don't know, we'll say topography that is out here, and the fact that the property does have sort of heightened elevation as you go south on it. So the northern, roughly 75% of the property is nice, flat, buildable area, probably very easy to build on, very easy to park whatever it is that you're going to drive out there, so on and so forth. But for the adventurous, for those who want to be up a little bit higher, build up here, have more views of the valley, it's actually going to be easier to do because this hillside area kind of flattens out, it kind of plateaus up here, and becomes an area that is also pretty easy to build on. Some of the neighbors, like this guy, built up against the hillside, so they have more of a kind of dynamic backdrop. I will show you his property just a little bit later in the video. Whatever the case, do want to make you aware that the property has kind of a Jekyll and Hyde typography. First flat over here, and then more of a ridge line here. Anyway, that's number one. Number two, Pine Meadows Ranch, it should be noted, is not a subdivision where you will typically find power outfitted on every lot. There's power throughout the subdivision, but it's not ubiquitous. This property does not have power at the lot line. I will point out to you guys, however, that the nearest power is roughly about 1,500 feet west over here at this corner. You can see 2 power poles over here. Additionally, there is an easement. You could kind of track it here with, you can kind of eyeball it a little bit on the map, but an power easement right here that leads out to this home and brings power to this land. Point being, guys, nearest power is roughly about 1,500 feet from the subject property, roughly about northwest of that. Now, it should be noted, some of you may be looking at the map saying, I see a home site right here. This looks pretty built up. Is there no power on that property? It doesn't look like it, and I have more photos to support that. So you should plan, if you do want to hook up to the grid and you do end up talking to the local utility company, power is probably going to have to get extended about 1,500 feet. That being said, there are a lot of homeowners in this region who do rely on solar. You will see that that's probably more common in this area than power lines. Now, of course, it should be noted that because this guy is right here by the entrance to the subdivision, you will find more homes out here that have power. It's more common, a little bit closer to the entrance to Pine Meadows Ranch. Blah, blah, blah. With all that said, guys, let's go to the photos. So, as always, we get photos taken from the property itself. We always send a photographer out to photograph these things. So this is the entrance to the Pine Meadows Ranch. This is what everybody sees when they pull in here off of that Carrizozo Road. This gives you a good sense of what the roads are like out here. This is Twilight Way. Should be noted, our photographer reported that this is a pretty easy road to drive on for any vehicle type. Of course, like most subdivisions in Cibola County, a lot is contingent on weather. So if you're planning on going out to scout the property, or even if you end up buying it, just be aware of what the weather was the night before. If it snowed or if it rained, might want to take a truck, might want to take an off-road capable vehicle just to get out here. Of course, and then these are photos of the property itself. As you can see, nice flat piece of land, probably very easy to build on. It's got some nice vegetation on it. Additionally, the hillside makes a kind of dynamic, views over here. And as we go through this, you will get an even better sense of that. While I go through the photos, guys, let's talk about zoning in Cibola County. So Sabola is one of these counties that does not have any formal county-wide zoning ordinance. They will defer to the townships, the municipalities within their county, or in this particular case, when it's unincorporated land in the middle of a sort of rural nowhere, they will defer to any sort of property or homeowners association that exists and whatever covenants and restrictions that organization has. You will be glad to know a couple things. Number one, the covenants and restrictions that exist with this land that were first created back in the 70s have either largely expired or been ignored. Number one, there weren't many of them, but it doesn't seem like anybody's out there enforcing them. Number one. Number two, the Property Owners Association that does run this area, the Pine Meadows Ranch POA, they seem to be pretty laid back. The only thing they really seem to care about are collecting annual dues for road maintenance. And those road maintenance dues tend to be about $50 a year, $50 annually. For the record, guys, this is that nearby home site that I was pointing out to you that sits just east of the subject property. As you can see, this guy built up a pretty nice home site out here. He's got the, this, I'm calling it a ridge line. I don't know what it technically is. The hillside, we'll say. He's got the hillside behind him here. And additionally, I don't see any power lines on this property. I believe this is one of these that's using solar. He's probably got some kind of solar panel thing outfitted in the back of the property or here along the roof. Might actually be seeing solar panels on the roof there. Whatever the case, that is what the neighbor's property looks like. Additionally, as we go through these, this is the nearest power that's roughly 1,500 feet from the property. Getting back to the zoning, guys, the point is that Cibola County doesn't really care what you do with your real property, with the use of the land that you own. The Pine Meadows Ranch subdivision is very laid back about this sort of thing. So you do find a lot of people who camp out here, who RV out here, who do it for indiscriminate periods of time. They don't tend to police that sort of thing. And I think as long as you're paying the annual dues for road maintenance, nobody really bothers you. So those are some of the benefits of the property. You're going to be able to do a lot of things out here that you can't do elsewhere. That, of course, includes things like tiny homes. There are no restrictions on minimum square footage, so on and so forth. With that said, guys, I'll let you peruse the rest of the photo gallery on your own time. We do also have, of course, a drone video down here. It kind of gives you a sense of what Pine Meadows Ranch is like. Couple links I want to familiarize you guys with. Down here under county contact info, we have both the Pine Meadows Ranch POA website as well as their Facebook group. We also have those linked up here under the property-specific links. Property-specific notes. So any one of these as you click will take you to their website. I should have you guys know this website does not get updated a lot. That being said, you can find a lot of good information here, particularly if you read down here at the bottom of the page when it talks about the difference between units 3 and 4 and units 1 and 2. This property, of course, is located in unit 1. It should be noted. It seems like dues out here, annual dues, are mandatory in units 3 and 4. They are voluntary in units 1 and 2. Additionally, it goes into a little bit more detail here about covenants and such. If you click on this document, it's going to bring up a document that we also have linked here on the website. Again, these are the original covenants that came with the land back in the 70s when this was first created. But again, from everything we've read, it does not seem to still follow with the land. It does not still seem to be enforced out here. Whatever the case, you may want to acquaint yourself with these, or it may be more useful to actually call the the Pine Meadows Ranch Association and talk to them personally. They also, of course, have their email right here. Or, guys, reach out to them through their Facebook page. The Facebook page looks like it gets updated more often. They have some updates here about meetings that were canceled because of COVID, things like that. But you will find that people who actually own land, own homes in these regions are pretty responsive on these groups. They do actually answer your questions. So if you do want to dig a little bit deeper into, can I do this? Can I do that? This guy I listened to in a video on the internet said I could, but let me prove it. Let me get some confirmation on that. These are good organizations to reach out to and talk to about that. Additionally, guys, we also have linked up here in the table Continental Divide Electric Co-op. They're also linked down here under the county contact information. This, of course, is the utility company that services this region. So if you do want to talk to somebody about getting power extended that roughly 1,500 feet, and you want to find out what that costs, price per pole, price to get actually hooked up to whatever structure you intend to park or build on the land, these are always good people to talk to in advance of a purchase like this. You can do a little bit of research, do a little bit of due diligence. Additionally, guys, what you should know about Pine Meadows Ranch is that they have a community well. If you are a dues-paying member, if you're paying that $50 annually, you can get you can get water from the well. You can get water from the well, which you can use to fill up a holding tank to keep on the property. You can always keep going back to that. There are also, one of the local tribes actually delivers water if you want to get into that. Or if you do want to drill a well out there, if you want to get your own well on the property, this is a good place to start with that. The Office of the New Mexico State Engineer is the government body in New Mexico that controls water rights and well permits. If you click on this link, it'll take you to their website where you can learn more about that process, number one. Number two, we also have some of the PDFs down here, well drilling info, permit application, so on and so forth. But I find if you're doing well research, if you're doing research on a water table and how hard is it to get water to a property, how far down do I have to drill, what does that cost, always best to go directly to the source and talk to well drillers who work that area. They're usually very familiar with it. You know, when I see a house like the one that I pointed out to you on the map earlier, the one that we have photos of in the gallery, when I see something like that located that close to this property, and really, if you look at, so the property's right here, there's a home very close by right here, one right here, one right here, these over here. It's a fair bet that most or all of these guys have wells, and if they do have wells, that also suggests that within this specific area, the water table is probably fairly accessible and not prohibitively expensive to tap into. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, guys, with all that said, if this is a property that you are interested in, just come up here, click the Buy Now button, and it will take you to a secure checkout page where we will ask you for the $5,000 plus the $150 doc prep fee. Total of $5,150 deeds the property into your name, and we just ask you for some piece of information, legal name for deed, tax address, so on and so forth. Agree to the terms of service, click the next button. On the very next page, we will ask you for credit or debit card information. For the record, guys, the way this process works is that within 24 hours, we're going to have documentation you in an email, new deed plus some supplementals for you to review. Once you approve everything, we're going to autograph it, notarize it, mail it off to the county to be recorded. The county records, and then they forward on to you. So from start to finish, it's about 3 weeks before you have the official documents in your hand. That being said, our company is the owner of this property, and once you give us money, as far as we are concerned, you are the new owner of the property. Go out there, knock yourself out, begin partying, begin building, begin camping, do whatever you like. The documentation will be along in the mail within a few weeks. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I stumbled over about 12 different things in this video. But if you have any comments, if you have any questions, guys, leave them here on YouTube or shoot us an email at support@hemingwayland.com. Again, guys, thanks for your patience. I'll see you in the next one.